Hello. This is not a normal podcast episode. No, it is not. I don't even know where this is gonna go, where I'm uploading it at, but we'll figure it out. Um, in my life, I'm about to be 19, guys. That is exciting. Your favorite fire sign, right here in front of your face. Everybody say hey, hi, hello. Um, but yeah, I'm about to be 19, and I started this podcast when I was 13. I think that's really cool for a 13-year-old to be like, oh my gosh, I want to start a podcast because that's like different. And like, I promise you, I didn't even listen to podcasts. I was like, I talk a lot. I'm going to start a podcast. And that's what got me here. I love podcasting. I always say it's so therapeutic for me and it makes me feel good about myself because when I speak out loud, when I say the things that I feel like I've experienced and I've gone through, it makes me reflect and it makes it like relatable because it's like I suck as a person sometimes. I'm not gonna lie, I genuinely do. I suck as a person, and I've grown from that. And I appreciate the fact that like being a flawed human being means being able to recognize the fact that I'm a flawed human being, and I've grown from it. So I've struggled a lot recently because of how far I've grown with the idea of perception, and just like the fact that people perceive me and have an idea about me from when I was 15 or 16, or there are people who still like think I'm as mean as I was when I was 11. Like, I'm like, baby, I'm grown. Like, what do you mean you think I'm gonna push you off the swings? Like, just so many things. And I've just really like struggled with the idea of perception lately. And I was talking to a friend about this, and she was like, and she really like told me that it's not up to you to, like, let me see actually. Sorry, I was like, let me see if I could really like quote it. And it wasn't coming out. But yeah, she said other people's perception of you is not your problem, and trying to explain yourself and like, advocate for yourself how much you've changed and how much you've grown is not going to fix their perception of you, their idea of you, the way they feel about you and the way they think about you. People are going to think and feel however they want about you, and there's really nothing you can do about it. Isn't that so crazy that that is inevitably how life is supposed to go? It's like, I can't change your mind. And it's like, I think it's so cool that it's like, I can't change your mind because it's like the only thing I can really focus on is myself. Like, the only thing I can control is myself. We focus and we obsess so much over what we can't control, and we try to dictate the things that we don't have control over it, and we try to change people's minds, and it's like there's literally nothing I can do. Like, there are so many exes who probably think I'm psychotic and crazy and just a crash out, and baby, I just stand like, that's it, that's me. And there's nothing I can do to change your mind. Like, you can't even explain to someone like why you reacted the way that you did, because at the end of the day, they're just gonna see your reaction. They're not gonna see their actions. They don't care about them. They're focused on you. And sometimes people just need the right amount of evidence or the right amount of reaction or the right amount of something you've done just to paint the narrative of you as a bad guy. And it's not to like say, because sometimes literally you need that narrative to be like, oh, you are a bad guy in order to grow. I think people who don't kind of like care about perception scare me a little bit, because it's like, it should matter to you that you left a bad taste in someone's mouth. You should never be like, oh, well, they feel that way, I don't care, because it's like, you will never grow. It's okay to make mistakes, and it's okay to mess up, and it's okay to, do something wrong. But I think what kind of changes the way that you feel about the situation, and what also like impacts the way that they feel about the situation, is when you're able to be like accountable and like recognize the fact that you were wrong. And it's like, you can't change their mind. Like, if they still think like you're a terrible person, that's just something that they think and you can't change. But you have to really learn to not hold their narrative against yourself. Your narrative and your perspective about me really has nothing to do with me, because at the end of the day, I know who I am. You could think like something I did at 16, like, I always say, like, in my relationships and my talking stages, I personally feel like I didn't love myself enough to walk away. There are so many people who, I talked about this in a like previous podcast episode, but people come back in your life just to see if they have access to you. When you have such a lack of self-love, you're really taking people back with open arms despite all the things that they've done to hurt you. I've heard like people say the meanest things about me, and I've had them do whatever they could to like make me feel some type of way or whatever in like our relationship or whatever, and I still was like, it's okay. I was like, oh my gosh, it's okay. And they will come back because they're like, oh well, you forgave me, so I'm gonna keep doing it. And so they come back probably years later, they come back months later, they come back time and time again because they want to see, are you still that same person? And when people recognize that you've changed by you not letting them have access to you, or you not letting them treat you the way that they previously were treating you, that in a way kind of like shifts their perception of you. It's like, oh, like I thought you were like this and you're no longer like this. Perception isn't something that you have to really necessarily go out of your way to change. It is not something that you should never change the things that you're doing and change actually retract that, because if you have such a like negative narrative about yourself in your life and so many people have so many negative things to say about you and you don't like that, then I think that should be a motivator enough to change. But you should never let somebody's narrative of you define the way that you feel about you. People make mistakes and we suck sometimes, like as individuals. It's like you're not going to be perfect, and to think that you're never going to make mistakes is so impractical, because it's like you're going to wrong more people in your life, because sometimes you're wronged, you don't even recognize the fact that it's like, dang, like I was wrong in the situation, because it takes growth. There are so many people who will reach back out to you like years later and be like, I messed up because I didn't know it then, but I know it now. And it's like growth. Perception sucks because it's like I really can't change your mind. You think this and it just is what it is, and it's like that's not who I am. And you want people to like know like you're not that anymore. You know, you want people to know you've grown, you want people to know you've changed, and you want people to know like I'm sorry and like I've grown. And it's like good for you that you've grown and you've changed. But stop feeling the need to people please to everybody else in the world and let them know like, hey, like let's try no. Just grow and move on. Grow and learn from your mistakes and don't make them again. You know, you don't have to go out of your way to like accommodate so many people in your life and, you know, make them feel like they have so much power over you that everything that they think and say about you weighs over you, to where now you're doing things just to accommodate them and to change their mind about you. They don't matter. I feel like you need to matter more to yourself, and you need to let your change be because you want to change. Like, it's okay to be like, it's okay for that to be a catalyst that stimulated your change, but don't let that be all you change for. You know, don't change just for people, change for yourself. Change to improve the quality of your life, change to improve the character of your personality, to just grow. Like, I think sometimes when we do things, we kind of do things out of a place of people pleasing sometimes. And I'm speaking from experience, because I remember like my junior year, I was changing so many things about myself just to accommodate a group of people, because I wanted them to be better collaborators. I wanted them to be more of a team. I wanted us to feel more united. I wanted us to like each other more. I wanted us to get along. And I drained the life out of myself. Especially like with everything going on in my life, I was just sucking the life out of myself, trying to please people who, no matter what I did, nothing was enough. And I literally was like, I don't know what else to do, because I feel like I'm trying to do everything I possibly can. Like, I'm changing the way I'm texting. I'm changing the way I'm responding to things. I'm changing the way, like, baby, I'm breathing different just so you don't get offended or feel some type of way. And it's like, I'm limiting myself to accommodate you, and you're doing absolutely nothing to meet me in the middle. You don't care. Like, I'm changing something to change the way that you feel and think, and ideas that you've had of me that aren't not my fault, you know? Sometimes perception isn't even like an interaction. It's not even an experience. It can be like secondhand, like, oh, I heard this, so now I think this about you. I don't know you. And I don't care, because I don't know you. You've never met me. You're walking around with this preconceived judgment and idea of me, and it's like, you didn't even give me a chance yourself. So it's like, you're gonna run yourself rampant and wild and insane trying to please so many people in your life. And it's like, what are you gonna do when you're in like this big establishment, or, you know, this higher position in your life? Are you gonna try to accommodate every single person around you? When are you gonna spend time to accommodate yourself? When do you matter, and why do you not matter enough? Why does another person's opinion weigh so heavily on yourself that it changes the way that you view yourself, the way you feel about yourself, the way that you think about yourself? Why does that matter? I struggle with perception all month, I'm not gonna lie, because I've just like, I don't know. When you grow and you change, you want to feel seen. you know? Because I think what's easy is when you like backslide and someone like makes you feel like the progress and the work that you put into yourself was never there, you know? It's easy when you react in the ways that you used to react and people make you feel like you just never changed at all. And I think that's what like triggered this, because I've always felt like I'm always like, you're in a continuous state of growth. But I was put in a position where I reacted in the same ways that I was like, dang, like I've worked to stop reacting in this way. And it's like you need to stop meeting people who trigger you into being the person that you no longer want to be. But like I was like, I am still that person. But you're always gonna carry pieces of yourself, because you never lose the habit. You just build around it, and you learn how to handle situations better. You learn how to respond to people better. You learn how to deal with things better. You don't ever knock and drop the habit, because it'll be just as easy to pick it back up. Like it's like I could be smoking 10 cigs a day. I learned to cut back to 5 cigs a day. I learned to cut back to no cigs a day. I'm having a bad day, so I pick up a cig. Okay. It's like you're always going to be put in a position and in a situation where it's like you grow from it. There's still the potential to fall back into it. That doesn't take away from the fact that you grew from it. Like my hypothetical of me doing, I don't smoke cigarettes, okay? But my hypothetical of me smoking 10 cigarettes like a day and then having a bad day and smoking one cigarette doesn't take away from the fact that I've learned to stop smoking 10 cigarettes a day. I've grown, I've learned, I've changed. Like that's something to pat yourself in the back for. I used to get really angry. I used to block people when I was upset. I don't do that anymore. Now, and if you upset me and I block you, that doesn't mean like I'm still the same person who reacts hastily and doesn't hear you out. It's like, I didn't want to deal with this, so I did it. And I'm not discrediting myself for growing in the fact that I no longer do it, but you're triggering something in me that doesn't want you around me. You know, I think that's what the perspective of it should be. The idea of perception shouldn't really matter to you because it's an uncontrollable thing, but it should matter. It's like a coin, there's both sides to it. It should matter and it shouldn't matter. The way people feel about you is important to you. If you know that they're right in the ways to feel the ways that they do about you, let that stimulate change in your life, and let that bring growth, and let that bring change. A person you've never met thinking you're the worst person in the world, maybe they don't know you. Let that go. Like literally you're gonna run yourself rampant. And I think I've learned this, like I've learned so much too. You learn you really can't control what other people think, when it's like you learn to stop telling your side of the story, because it's like I don't care. It's like people will have ideas. You can go paint a narrative about me. You can go tell everybody everything. I don't care, because it's like a lot of people will paint so many narratives about another person and not put their side of the story in it. You know, a lot of people like to make themselves seem like the good guy. And a lot of people will rather make themselves seem so much better in a situation, knowing that that's not how they handled it and that's not how they were. Because if it makes them look bad, why would anybody want to make themselves look bad? You know? So I think that's also where perception also falls into, because a lot of people will tell half of a story. I think, you know, you just have to know what is really like worth speaking on, which is really nothing, because people don't know you and people are not you, and living your life to accommodate a bunch of people who you are not going to meet in a couple years is going, or you know, be friends with in a couple years. It's okay. They don't matter. You know, cherish everything, enjoy everything, take care of yourself, prioritize yourself. And if perception stimulates change in your life, don't let don't let don't let the people be the reason why you're changing. Let the circumstances and the lessons from the situation be the reason why you're changing. Let the lessons that you've learned stimulate your change. Let the reasons and the sorry, I stutter a lot. Let the fact that you were in the wrong stimulate the change. You know, not because people think you're a bad person and you feel the need to prove yourself as a good person, because it's like, what qualifies a bad person and what quantifies a good person? We don't know. Because at the end of the day, we all have done bad things and we all do good things. I don't see it as you're a good person and you're a bad person. You are a person and you are growing. So give yourself grace and give the people around you grace. And that is it. Thank you. Bye, guys.